Welcome everyone, we're going to do a deck review of the Lightsworn Mark II deck, and then we'll maybe just go and play a little game. This is a request from Arian Joineth, also called AJ. He really liked the last video I did with this and wanted to see how the deck works, so if you guys want to see it, just let me know and I'll try and put together something. So we'll go through this one card at a time. So first of all, the reason why we're doing a 30 card deck rather than 20 card deck, generally you always want to run a 20 card deck because it will give you the highest chances of drawing into the cards you actually want to. The reason we want to play a 30 card deck is firstly because of this one, which is if you've got more cards in your deck than the opponent, then you put cards from the top of your deck into your drop zone until you both have the same number of cards. So that will instantly mill is the name for putting the top card of your deck into your graveyard. That will mill the top 10 cards of your deck if you get that on your opening move. And also, the reason we want to play at 30 is so that we don't have to worry about decking ourselves out. It allows us to be a little bit more less. It means we don't need to think as much about worrying about the number of cards left in the deck. Even at that, there's ways around this. So let's just go through each of the cards individually. There's the synchros down there as well if you want to just see that, and we'll just go through them and I'll explain the reasons for each one. So we'll start off with the big Judgment Dragon himself. So the Judgment Dragon, he is the big part of your deck. He is the game ender, the finisher. So why do we only play 2 of them instead of 3? Well, I only own 2, but even if I did own 3, I wouldn't play 3. It's because it doesn't do anything until you've got 4 different Lightsworns in your drop zone. So, your graveyard. Drop zone graveyard. I play a few different card games, you might have seen my channel. So we don't want him in our hand near the beginning of the game. We want to draw into him later. So we don't want what's called dead cards in hand. So dead cards in hand are Judgment Dragon, because he's useless turn 1. Felis, who doesn't do anything once it's in your hand. Wolf, which is the same thing. You don't really want Bacon Saver in your hand. You want to just mill that. But there's a few things in here. Like, although Kiteroid is good, you don't really want it in your hand. It's something to protect you in case things go badly. So we want things we can summon, we can set, we can, spells like, Charter Light Brigade and such, that we can just activate. We don't want to crowd ourselves down with crap. Monster Reincarnation is also technically a bad card to have in your opening hand. The good thing about Monster Reincarnation over Judgment Dragon is that you can use Monster Reincarnation to bring back anything, not just Judgment Dragon, although the majority of the time we'll use Monster Reincarnation to bring back the Judgment Dragon. So, now we've got that out of the way, let's go through the deck. So, getting out the Judgment Dragon is the main purpose of the deck. In order to do that, we need to get 4 Lightsworn monsters with different names into our drop zone. So let's work out how we do that. So, Zephyros the Elite. We only play one of this. He's a Blackwing. He's obviously not Lightsworn. The reason he's in here is because he's got this very cool effect that if he's in your graveyard, you can return 1 face-up card you control back to your hand to special summon this card. If you do, you take 400 damage. 400 damage is nothing, and you can only use the effect of this once per duel. So, what's the purpose of this? Well, in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, you start with 4,000 life points. So if you can just special summon a Judgment Dragon while you've got Zephyros in your drop zone, in your graveyard, use Judgment Dragon's effect, pay 1,000 life points, which destroys everything else on the field. Only Judgment Dragon's the only card that's left. Then use Zephyros's effect to return Judgment Dragon back to your hand, and then that special summons Zephyros to your side of the field. Then, because you still have 4 Lightsworns in your graveyard, you just special summon Judgment Dragon again. Then you attack for 3,000, you attack for 16, that's 4,600 damage, so you immediately kill the opponent regardless of whether it's the beginning or whether it's what point it is in the duel. You don't need to worry about dealing that last bit of damage. So Lila is very good. Only playing it as a one-off because we want to play as many different Lightsworns as possible. You can rest this card to destroy an opponent's spell or trap. This is really good for setting up a Judgment Dragon play. You don't want to special summon a Judgment Dragon and, Judgment Dragon just falls into a floodgate trap hole where he just gets, set in defense position. So it's better to summon things like this to clear the opponent's back row before you go into the rest of your turn. Also, it's got 1,700 attack, which is not terrible. Gloat Bulb is very cool. If you've got it in hand, it's very cool to just go normal summon, then synchro it into a 5-star, if you've got a 4-star monster in the field. And then from your drop zone, you mill the top card of your deck to special summon it. You can only do that once per game. But then after that, it stays in your graveyard, and it's a plant. So because it's a plant, if we can use Black Rose Dragon's effect. So Black Rose Dragon has 2 effects. The first one is to destroy itself and everything else in the field. The second one is you can banish a plant from your graveyard to select a defense position monster on your opponent's side of the field, switch it to attack position and make its attack 0, which also allows you to just kill an opponent randomly. So Raiden is one of the few cards that is so good, so powerful in Lightsworn. It's part of your main win condition that you play him at 3. He's a tuner, he's a 4-star tuner, which is already tremendous, but he's also got an added effect that during your main phase, so you don't need to wait until your end phase, during your main phase you can mill the top 2 cards of your deck, and he gets 200 attack for each Lightsworn milled. But you don't really care about the attack, it's about getting that additional milling the top 2 cards of your deck. That's what's important, because that will help you go into a Judgment Dragon, it'll get you your Gloat Bulb in your drop zone, it will get you your Bacon Saver, your Kiteroids, all of that into your drop zone, all the things you really want. And also, you've got the chance of milling a Felis or a Wolf, which will add even more cards to your side of the field. So, the Twilight Sworns, not quite as good, but they do have a different name and they're also Lightsworns. This one's 1700 attack, so it's fine. When a spell trap is activated, banish a Lightsworn monster from your graveyard, target a face-up spell trap in the field, destroy it. And during the end phase, you once your other Lightsworn monster's effect activates, you can send the top 3. You'll almost never use the effects of this thing. This is a kind of backup thing. It's actually one of my least favourite cards in the deck. It's really in there because it's 1700 attacker. This Raikou, however, much better. This is like the original Raikou, this one here, but possibly even stronger. So when it's normal summon, flip summoned, you can banish a Lightsworn monster from your graveyard to banish 1 card in the field. That's not 1 monster, that's not 1 face-up card, that is any card on the field, and it's free. You don't have to pay 1,000 life points, you don't have to pay anything else, you don't have to retire anything or destroy anything. It's just banish a card from your drop zone. So very, very powerful card. Unfortunately, it's very weak. It's only got 200 attack, it's only got 100 defense. It's very awkwardly a 2-star monster. If it was 3-star or 4-star or 1-star, it'd be much easier to synchro with, but because it's 2-star, it makes it awkward. And because it's 2-star, that's why we have to use the 6-star synchro just in case. I think Bionic is the best 6-star synchro. There's other really good 6-star synchros you can go for. So the reason we're using all these different synchros, the 5-star, 6-star, we're using 2 different 7-stars because actually we use both of these cards, both really good. The 8-star and the 9-star is because we're using a 4-star tuner, a 1-star tuner, and we're also using a whole bunch of, like this is a 1-star monster, this is a 2-star monster, Lumen is a 3-star monster. There's so much variety that you can do, and there's sometimes that you really want a card in your drop zone, and in order to get that into the drop zone, the best way to do that is to synchro it. For example, if you've got a Raikou in your field and you've got 3 Lightsworns in your graveyard, then, if you summon a 4-star tuner, then you can just get the 2 of them into your drop zone and then you can special summon Judgment Dragon. So that's why we have to play all the different variations. So this Raikou, very, very strong. Only play it at 1. It's got a different name from the others. This Raikou is really good for the turn 1 setup because you just go set this monster and pass. And the opponent just goes, I'll play just do their entire turn, make their synchros or whatever, then attack into it, Raikou flips up, and then you destroy 1 card on their side of the field, and you mill the top 3 cards of your deck. So it's really good because it mills 3, it's also a Lightsworn monster, it's also got a unique name, and it's also destructive, and it's also defensive. So very, very cool, but doesn't help when you get into the late game. It's only really good at the beginning, so that's why we only play him at 1. Kiteroids are essential because it's very possible for the opponent to clear your board, you don't have any protection left, and then they attack you for game, you just discard this from your hand. It's like a Karibo, it will negate 1 attack from your opponent if they attack you directly. Also, while it's in your graveyard, if an opponent's monster attacks you directly, you can banish it to negate that attack, and you can do that twice on the same turn. So if your opponent's got 2 cards that are going to kill you, you can just use this from your hand and discard it from your graveyard to save yourself for another turn. And also, if these things are just milled into your graveyard, you don't even need them in your hand. You can just activate them. So that's the part of the defense. Felis, we only play this at 1 because I don't really like it. It can't be special summoned when it's milled by spell and trap card effects. It can only be special summoned when it's milled by monster effects. So either it has been milled during your end phase if you've got a Lumina or a Maiko or whatever on your field, or you have to hit it with Raiden. Raiden can mill the top 2 cards of your deck during your main phase. And those are the only 2 points that can really be summoned. But it does have a unique name, and you can use Lumina's effect to discard 1 to special summon it from your graveyard as well, which can also make a tuner if you don't have a Raiden. So that's the 2 purposes of it. You can obviously get rid of it from your hand if you've got a solo recharge, or you can use it as discard fodder for Lumina. But it's really one of those kind of dead cards in hand. You don't really want this thing. So 1 of it is fine. Wolf is exactly the same. Wolf you can get lucky with. If you use Charged Light Brigade or if you use Solo Recharge, you can just special summon a Wolf. And sometimes you'll just special summon a Wolf and then you'll call a Raiden or you'll call a Glow Up Bulb and you'll just make a Synchro and that'll be your turn. And you'll be like, okay, that's good enough. So Wolf serves a purpose, but you don't want it any more than 1. Lumina is the main part of this deck. This is what will allow you to go into all of your Synchros by just summoning this. Even if you watch my videos, generally, if I've got Luminas in hand, I'll use Charge Light Brigade. I'll check what's left in my deck, and sometimes I'll just add another Lumina to hand, because you can just go summon a Lumina, discard a Lumina to special summon a Lumina from your graveyard, then discard a Lumina or discard another card to special summon back a Raiden, and then you've got your Lumina and your 7-star Synchro. And if you've got a Glow Up Bulb, you can bring that, you can make an 8-star Synchro, you can go into a Scrap Dragon, and then you can use Scrap Dragon to destroy the original Lumina, and all that comes off of normal summoning 1 Lumina, and discarding cards from your hand, obviously. The Bacon Saver, this is slightly better than Kiteroid, because it's whenever an attack is declared, you can negate it, so it doesn't have to be a direct attack. However, it doesn't do anything in hand, it only activates from the graveyard, which makes it a little bit worse than Kiteroid. So there's good and bad points to it for both reasons. It's better to have Kiteroids in hand, it's better to have Bacon Saver in the graveyard, and also Bacon Saver only activates once per duel, whereas Kiteroid, you can use the effects of both of them. So that's why we only play 1 Bacon Saver. Arcus, again, not a particularly good Lightsworn, but he's needed. He'll mill the top 2 cards of your deck during your end phase, but also neither player can target Lightsworn monsters with any card effects. So sometimes it's cool to just summon this guy next to a Michael, and it makes it really, really awkward for the opponent to do things because they can't use anything that targets against your big cards. So Charged Light Brigade, you want 1 of this in your opening hand because it's one of the best cards. First of all, you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. That's not a cost. That is actually something you want to happen. So that's actually a good thing. You want to mill the top card of your deck. Then you get to search your deck for any Lightsworn in your deck and then add it to your hand, which is amazing. Any Lightsworn monster, obviously. Well, level 4 or lower, but we're not going to use anything like Celestia. It's just not good enough. It's not fast enough. Like, you can run Celestia, but we would need like Foolish Burials and things, and it's a different deck and it's not as good. Another thing is Celestia is also another dead card in hand, and it also means you have to play more Wolves, and Wolves are dead cards in hand, and Foolish isn't a particularly good card. It doesn't give you as much advantage as what you need it to give, so overall, not a great idea. Grass looks greener, obviously. If you get to opening move, you mill the top 10 cards of your deck. If you're in mid-game and you've already milled quite a lot of cards, generally you'll still have a few more cards than the opponent, so you can play this and you can like mill 2 or mill 3, and even that is fine. Or if it's so late in the game, you can at least discard it for Lumina's effect. So that's the good thing about Lightsworn, is having dead cards are fine so long as you've got a Lumina. We play 2 Monster Reincarnation. This is much better to do than play 1 Monster Reincarnation and 3 Judgment Dragons, because a Monster Reincarnation you can discard a card from your hand and you can add a Lumina back to from your graveyard to your hand. And then you can use Lumina's effect to bring back a Raiden or a Felis, and then you can make a 7-star Synchro. So this allows you to activate plays where a Judgment Dragon, if you just top deck it and you don't have 4 cards in your graveyard, it won't do anything. So Reincarnation, very strong card. Solar Recharge, absolutely required at 3. You discard a Lightsworn monster, draw 2, and then send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So it's almost a graceful charity, apart from you discard first rather than after, and you draw 2 rather than draw 3. But it also mills 2, and that mill 2 is important. It gets you into a lot more cards. So this one random Windstorm Requata, this you won't see many people play this, but change the battle position while face-up monsters your opponent controls. There's so many things where your opponent will play things that doesn't allow you to activate a trap or can negate a trap during the battle phase, or they will destroy spells and traps on summon or as a main phase effect or whatever. You know, if the opponent's got a Bryonic and they just, you know, return your entire field to your hand, Windstorm can save you a game. It's a really, really annoying card, but it's technically has more uses than something like Floodgate would have, because it works on multiple creatures. There's other people will say, oh, just play Drowning Mirror Force and things. But the thing is, there's so many things that negate Drowning Mirror Force, or anything that activates during battle phase and things. It's really good to use a Windstorm when it says your opponent is about to enter battle phase. Do you want to do anything? And then while it's still in their main phase, you play Windstorm, and it can pretty much just end an opponent's turn. If we had Threatening Roar, which is another trap card that skips the opponent's battle phase, I'd be playing that in its place. But for the time being, Windstorm I think is fine. It's just a little tech choice of mine. So the Synchros, we're using this 5-star because he's 2500 attack, which is obviously very, very strong, but also he can change all face-up special position monsters to defense position. So this can get you out of a lot of bad situations where the opponent has already set up their field and they've already got their big boss monsters in the field. And 2500 attack can normally get over the defense of some of these big creatures. Bryonic is very, very cool. You can say you've got a Judgment Dragon in hand and you've got 3 Lightsworn monsters in your hand and you've got 1 Lightsworn monster in your graveyard. If you summon a Bryonic and you just discard the 3 Lightsworn monsters, first of all, you return the opponent's entire field to hand, and then secondly, you can just special summon Judgment Dragon after that. So it's very cool for discarding cards from your hand and also having a very, very strong effect. And also if you return the opponent's fusion monsters or the opponent's synchros, then they just go back to the extra deck, which completely takes them out of the game until they get resummoned. Black Rose Dragon, again, it's got 2 effects. One is to destroy the entire field. Very rarely you will use that effect, but the second one, it gives you the use of an already used Glow Up Bulb. So after you use Glow Up Bulb to synchro something to either a 5-star or a 7-star or an 8-star, whatever, you can use this Black Rose Dragon to turn the opponent's defense monster into attack position and give it 0 attack and really deal some damage to them that way. Michael is very, very strong. First of all, you can pay 1,000 life points, target a card in the field and banish it. So it's not even destroy, it's banish, which is very strong. It doesn't have to be face up, it doesn't have to be a monster, it can be a spell, trap, face down, face up, whatever. Anything, just choose 1 card in the field, get rid of it. And it's got 2600 attack. And it also, it mills during your end phase. But when this card is destroyed, you can return any number of Lightsworn monsters from your graveyard back into your deck. So sometimes it's very cool to just summon a Judgment Dragon next to this thing, pay 1,000 life points to destroy it, and then use Michael's effect. If you've already used through the second Judgment Dragon and you know it's not happening again, just put all of your Lightsworns back into your deck. It will stop you from decking out, and it will also give you like 3,000 life points. So then the opponent will be like, alright, well, now I'm completely screwed. So that's how that works. Scrap Dragon is very cool. So there's very rare situations you'll find yourself in where you've got less than 1,000 life points, and when you're in less than 1,000 life points, Judgment Dragon doesn't activate, Michael doesn't activate. There's very few other things, unless Raikou Lightsworn is there, they can actually get rid of the opponent's field without actually paying any cost or life points. Whereas with a Scrap Dragon, you can just destroy a card on your side of the field, destroy a card on the opponent's side of the field. And sometimes you can just go set Solar Recharge, use Scrap Dragon, destroy the useless Solar Recharge to destroy the opponent's monster. Or you can summon a Bacon Saver. You can get the Bacon Saver into your graveyard that way. There's so many usabilities that Scrap Dragon has that other 8-star monsters don't have. And then the last one is the Vermillion Dragon Mech. So this card is still very, very powerful. Once per turn, you can banish a tuner to target a card in the field and destroy it. So, first of all, we're playing a whole bunch of tuners. We're playing 5 tuners, 3 Raiden, 1 Glow Bulb, and 1 Felis. So it gives us a lot of targets to destroy the opponent's field for essentially free. It's got 2700 attack, which is huge, and it's also there's no life point cost as well, so it can get you out of situations where you've had a bad start and you need to pull the game back. So this has turned into a 20-minute video, oh my goodness, of explaining how Lightsworn works and the reasons for why everything's actually in here. Another thing is Arcus has 1800 defense, so that's good for setting, but you really don't want to set in your opening move. Sometimes it's better to just summon Arcus and just take the damage so that you've got that mill 2 during your end phase if you're really stuck for that. So I'm going to make a second video now where I'm just going to play a few games with this online, and I'm going to explain what I'm doing while I'm actually playing the game as well. So look forward to that.